in the morning suck.
Dads after dark, grilling in the park, making back ribs on the grill. Me and my wife, Netflix and chill, sweet tea, roller cooler, lawnmowers, blah blah blah. Mom's in the morning, they talking, it's kinda boring. Bourbon, Velcro, New Balances, tatted on my nose, Mickey G, funny packs, that's on me. Blue jean shorts, yeah, that kinda short. Dads after dark, dads after dark, dads after dark. Dads after dark, dads after dark, after dark, dark.
Yo, 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 what's cracking, everybody? Outlaw here, Dads After Dark. Speaking of what's cracking, I'll tell you what's cracking. That's the top of this brute can on this second rodeo I'm enjoying right now. Second rodeo, you got that right. That's Lost 40, buddy, all day, every day. Let me tell you a little bit about that Lost 40. Tell you how you get some. Go by their tap room over there at 501 Bird Street, Little Rock, Arkansas, 72202. Walk in with a growler. Let them fill one up, fresh off the taps, right there at the bar. Check them out on the inner tubes, www.lost40brewing.com. Give them a call, 501-319-7275, or get on the social media. Track them down on the Instagram, look them up on the Facebook. Whatever you do, just make sure you tell them Dads After Dark sent you. Get by there today. Hook yourself up with some Lost 40. Bicycle.
Bro, Mike.
Guess what?
Hey, hey.
Click, click, bang. Mics are on. Hot, hot, hot.
I can't hear myself, so
Mikey G
I don't know.
is so lost right now. Look at him. He don't even know what to do.
He just showed up. That's why he's lost.
Walked in the door. The buttons are pushed. The music's playing. Shit is happening.
That's right, Ronnie. Woo Pig, 3 more weeks, he said.
WPS, my friend. Even
I'm
if
dead.
you don't WPS, you do today. His headphones are dead again.
His?
We started last week with them dead,
Try it again.
and we will start again. We turned them up and down
Turn
and
them all
all
the way
around.
down, back up.
Nope, nothing.
This is how we roll.
Still nothing?
Well,
it don't
we'll
matter.
keep
It don't matter.
keep pushing buttons and figure it out. But
I can hear y'all. Luckily, I'm in right here with y'all.
so we've
What?
So we've got
Anyways, let's do the business real quick.
there's
Welcome
extra.
to Dad's After Dark Radio. I'm your host, Mikey G.
asshole.
Smokestack, Rodney Lewis.
I can't
Outlaw,
tell
Shane
if you hit the
Preator.
What's cracking?
And we got special guests in studios. Outlaw, would you like to introduce
You know,
them?
I was trying to, and you interrupted me.
Wait, you got to get the business
Just
out of
like
the way.
typical fashion. Like, subscribe, pinch, poke.
We're going to give you a few minutes to get on there and hit those.
Hey, does everybody remember how we waved at Glover last week?
We did.
On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
I beeped it.
Okay, that's good. They didn't see it because you beeped it.
All right, good job. So we still hadn't fixed this. headphones.
Y'all broke my headphones. We need a donation for some new headphones.
So we're
Why are you yelling at the camera?
Oh, I guess I can
You
talk.
have a microphone.
I'm new at this, dude.
By the way, just want to say this. This is our 3-year anniversary of doing this show.
today.
Yesterday.
So we're late.
We should have
Yes.
bought each other
Typical
something.
dad fashion. What'd you buy me?
A shirt.
Asshole, you ain't even wearing your regular. What the hell?
He was busy. He's got stuff to do.
I got stuff going on.
He uses their bathroom, and his kid takes lessons, and
He has
wears their shirt.
He has other things that are more important.
That is true. You guys are secondary. By the way, the 3-year
Hence the
anniversary.
tattoo on his arm.
Happy anniversary, guys.
Thank you.
We've been doing this for 3
Golf
years,
clap,
and we
golf clap.
still
It's
can't.
lasted
Headphones not
lasted
working.
longer than my first marriage.
Don't turn it down. I'm having fun.
Congratulations! Look, we're getting all kind of congratulations and hearts.
Thank y'all very much. I forgot there's people watching
My
this.
first
right
marriage
now.
was 2 years and 3 months, so we're good on that.
With Alvy will be coming in. Maybe I don't know if he got lost and forgot how to get here, but he
He's
dropped
probably
6
on
phones.
scene somewhere.
He
doing something.
broke 2 phones. He called me from one that wasn't his. The screen was cracked. It was typical. He's starting to become a little bit more like us, and that's not cool. But
It's kind of cool.
we'll figure
kinda
it all out.
So guess.
Special guest in the house. So we talked about last week that we were going to discuss mental health last week. And in typical dad fashion, we never even touched the subject.
I was not here to drive the train last week, so it just went.
So it was his
all the way off
fault.
the track.
It was his fault that it didn't happen, is what he just told y'all.
Don't even with that.
So
guess.
we have in the house Heroes Behind the Lines. Is it lines or line?
Line.
Thank you. So for those of y'all that don't know what that's about, and I will refer to We Are the 22 because they typically are all about the veterans, and where these guys here are about our first responders. Right. So that's near and dear to my heart because, as you see, the helmets up here in the back all belong to me.
He stole them.
I did take them when I was trying to clean a fire truck one day, and they still don't know they're gone.
Hey guys, can I ride on the fire truck?
I found that you can order these stickers off of Amazon, and if you take a torch to them and make them look like they were hot, man, it's like pretty legit, almost like that stupid show about firefighters.
He keeps the little plastic fire helmet inside on his bed.
So it's the
One
bobblehead
from
doll.
Firehouse.
It never quits moving. So we have Heroes Behind the Line because obviously mental health.
They have names, right?
That's why he wore his shirt, so he would remember his name.
They can't see that.
I was working
He's
on
going
it.
to let them introduce ourselves. Give it time.
Here we go.
You got to let it mellow a little bit.
Here we
It's our
go.
first talk show.
So, gentlemen, introduce yourselves without
we go.
fart buttons and tell us a little bit about what y'all have going on.
I'm Travis Browning. I'm the director and founder of Heroes Behind the Line. So we started back in 2017, 18, and then I got here with me. I can let him introduce himself, but I like to introduce him because he's such a great friend of mine. This is Chuck, and Chuck is our director of communications. So he kind of helps with my podcast and stuff that we also have. So we do have a new podcast we can talk about a little bit when we get in that point. But Chuck, you got anything you want to introduce yourself or?
No, this is Chuck. We're from Heroes Behind the Line. We're a nonprofit organization trying to help first responders suffering from the effects of PTSD. A lot of great things we're trying to get accomplished here with this podcast here as well.
That's pretty awesome.
And he's bald and has a killer beard. I can relate to
I
that.
get a lot of comments on it.
I always say, if you ever seen like the Gordman's Fisherman on the box,
Oh.
the yellow jacket.
That's
I
him.
love how he asked the communications guys, "You got anything to say?" And he's like, "Of course."
That's
Like us asking Shane, "Hey man, talk to these people."
Right,
Hell,
yeah.
we're there 45 minutes later, going, "Good, come
grab
on,
my
man,
shirt
let's move
tail
on."
and hold on.
I'm like a good leader of a company. I just kind of sit in the background and like get funding and stuff, and I let some of the talking,
That's why you get good staff around you, man.
Right.
You don't have to worry about it.
I mean,
there you go.
that's
Awesome
amazing.
what y'all do, man.
We, like I said, a lot of people don't understand as far as first responders, the paramedics, the firefighters, the police officers, the things that are seen by all of those people, a lot don't realize. I mean, you show up and you see fire trucks and you assume things are good or bad based on the amount of people and apparatus that are on scene. But you typically, I say we're really good at hiding things because typically you don't physically see what's going on behind the scenes. And man, I can tell you firsthand and I don't know how I've managed to keep an easy mind with it all, but
Because he's stupid.
I can tell you 3 scenes. I can tell you everything about them. I can tell you the smells. I mean, everything that I saw and dealt with. And
Some of the things you've described to us in the past, I don't know.
right,
I don't know how you sleep.
I still I'll be driving down the road and I'll see one of those areas, and I'll immediately everything will play through my head, but it's not in a depressing or drive me to tears. It humbles me every time to know that person and their children were just going to the gas station, or this guy took the batteries out of his smoke detector and cost his family their lives. I mean, I remember every detail about it, but I don't. Like, there's some that just, I know a guy that was a full-fledged firefighter. He was in the military. He was a combat medic, and he is not right anymore.
Right. And, talking about that, for people that don't understand it, take it like when you were in high school and you had that first girlfriend or whatever, or boyfriend, and, y'all
talking to you, Rod.
You used to do this or do that, and you drive down the road and there was that one song that would always come on, and years later you can hear that song when you're traveling down the highway, and you just, man, remember back at that time. Talking about what you're saying is the same kind of stuff, but maybe a little darker, maybe a little, less easy to handle, but you still get that same memory. There's roads that I don't like to go down because, something terrible happened here. There's houses that I see that, remind me of a really bad place, because we pulled a body from it or whatever. So, and to kind of talk about me and Chuck a little bit to give some of the viewers a little bit more insight. Me and Chuck are both, first veterans, and so we're very appreciative of our veterans. We understand a lot of stuff, so we focus on first responders, but veterans, we got a place for you too. We're thankful for We Are the 22 and some of the other Sheepdog Impact Assistance. If you don't know them,
amazing.
Both amazing people. So don't think that we're going to be like, hey, we don't like the veterans. We do. We love you. We want to help you. But there's some other groups that are really good and set up already.
Somebody's got to love the first
reach out and you
responders.
can get them
absolutely.
with somebody. You're not going to turn them away.
No,
at
and
all.
we all. Here's the deal. When we first started this, we had a lot of bigger organizations that wouldn't even talk to us. And we're like, hey, look, we're trying to get this going. They all wanted the piece of the pie, and they didn't want to share it with nobody. And we said, well, everybody should have a piece of this pie because everybody should have somebody that can help. Now, there's things that say We Are the 22 does that we don't. But there's things that we do that We Are the 22 doesn't do. So we want to kind of bridge the gap and have a resource together to be able to help out completely. So on top of that, we're also both first responders. So a little history of me, I'm a police officer. I was a fireman when I was 13 years old, started out as a cadet in this little town that we're in right now,
right.
And that's where I started, growing up in that area. So, and I'm also, an EMT. So I got a little bit of everything. And so I always say, like, I'm the master. What is it? The jack of
all trades, but master of none.
Right?
Correct.
That's how I feel.
I feel that. That's
yeah.
all
And
of
so, and with Heroes, when we come about, we were really starting to see that a lot of Arkansas first responders were needing some help. There was a lot of suicidal issues going on, things of that nature. And when we started looking at getting some of our friends help, there was nowhere for them to turn. So once we realized there was a need for it, we kind of like y'all, we were like, all right, we're full steam with this. We got to get this up and running. We got to be able to help these people out. So Heroes, what we do is provide at no cost to the person mental health support. If you need a counselor, we got you. If you need a peer support team set up at your local fire department or whatever place that you're working, we got you. We did service dogs before. We've done, just an array of things. If it's not something we can do, we're going to find the people that can do it for you. And that's the biggest thing. We want everybody out there that's a first responder listening is I know this is cliche, but it's okay to not be okay. Yep. So ask for help. We've got it.
That's also our motto.
Yes.
Well, and it's hard for
we've never been okay.
It's always hard
never.
for men to
absolutely
to ask for help.
And firemen,
100%.
You hear that all the time.
Right.
Firemen, traditions, everything in the firehouse. When I first joined the fire department, even at 13 years old, I seen my first dead body. And my thing is like, hey, if you got a problem, you go stand in that corner for a little bit, get yourself straight.
Right.
And when
Come
you're
on
ready
back.
to come
Let's
back,
go.
you come back. And and we got, sometimes that's okay, but sometimes you might need a little bit more.
So we had one situation. I was on Maul Mill, a brand new volunteer. I had been around the fire department for quite some time, but I was full-fledged running hard at Maul Mill. We were running the interstate.
Yep.
The boulevard is ridiculous.
Yes, it is.
You would be surprised at the amount of car accidents that happen on the boulevard and
On a straight road.
On a straight road.
Craziest thing, yes.
It's unbelievable, but I will never, everything about it, I can tell you the distance, the colors, the shirts, everything about this scene. But it was the first, what I call horrific scene that I had ever been a part of. And, man, about, it was probably 3 or 4 days later, I was sitting down talking to a man. Now, I knew nothing about this man that I was talking to. And he brought up the car wreck. And I was like, oh, yeah, that was a horrific wreck. Here's everything that happened. I was like, man, I actually sit there and cried the other night because I didn't know what else to do. Yep. And he looked at me and he was like, you know what? He said, if that didn't bother you, something's wrong with you.
Right.
So he ended up being a pastor at the local church who I think was the chaplain at the time out there. So we chit-chatted for a minute. It wasn't like a therapy session. We just had a discussion kind of like we're doing now, but it was like, just basic, questions and talk and how do you feel kind of thing. And like I said, I didn't lose any sleep over it, but I ended up meeting the child's mom about 8 years later, and we were just chatting it up. She was at a liquor store. I was buying liquor. She was super down. I'd been around her a lot for a couple of years. And she was just down and out. And I was like, hey, what's up with you? Why are you down today? And she was like, oh, today's the anniversary of my daughter's death. And I was like, oh, I'm terribly sorry to hear that. You know, if you don't mind, what happened? And she was like, well, she died in a car wreck right down the road. And I looked at her, said her name was Caitlin, wasn't it? And she started boo-hooing. I started crying. I just wrapped my arms around her, and that was her, you know, and it was so the talking about it part, we were told in the beginning, kind of like you said, you talk about it as it's happening, but once we come clean our boots, we move on to the next one. And that was not necessarily forced into us, but that was the way of life. That's how and so maybe that's why it was easy for me. And I know not everybody's that way. We're all different. There's 5 of us in here, and not a single one of us think the same. So I don't know. I learned to deal with things.
I'm just surprised you knew there was 5 of us.
I had to count. In my head, I counted twice.
I had to go.
This
there.
hand
was down.
This
here
hand
too,
was
thank
hidden.
you. Yeah.
This hand was hidden, so nobody could see me over here.
I
Going.
seen him pull his shoe off. I was wondering what he was doing.
But to everybody that's listening right now, y'all share the live. Y'all like and love and react and do whatever. And there's a lot of comments going on in here, and
invite your friends. Too.
We're
Let's
not
get them in here.
we're not ignoring you.
If you have questions, please do it.
Please type them in here. We will answer your questions. Several people have said thank you for the service that has been given. So y'all make sure to keep interacting with us, and we will definitely get back to you. It says there are calls that still play over and over in my head. People don't realize what first responders see. And that's Tim Akers. He was he did firefighting for a while. He was on Tim was on he rode on MIMS for quite some time. So I think an injury put him out, and it lifting someone, a very large person, as a matter of fact.
Yes.
So
Like Glover.
well, yeah.
It's
But no,
actually kinda
man,
interesting.
y'all kind of hit on y'all's stuff and how they can reach you guys, or how they can get in touch with you, or how, you know, all y'all stuff. Just hit on that. Tell them how to get a hold of y'all, or you know, a little more about what y'all do.
Gotta hope we have closed captioning on that one to play back what Rodney just said.
It says, I'm reading it right here.
That's the longest run-on sentence ever.
It's
Oh,
interesting. You said
was it supposed to say
Tim
period?
Akers, the one who said that comment just a minute ago about the scenes that are just replaying in his head. I mean, that's an interesting thing, because one of the main reasons I got involved with this organization, with Heroes Behind the Line, was I've been in law enforcement now for going on about 7 years. I was in the service for quite a few years as well. But that was one thing that I noticed as far as working, especially as a detective for the past few years. When you go out on a scene and you're going out as a first responder on a scene, you get there and you're witnessing these traumatic events that the normal person, the normal civilian that's not working in law enforcement, when they show up and they see something like that, you know, their brain reacts in a certain way, and they're going to not really overreact, but they're going to react in a more traumatic way to
Yes.
it. When we get onto a scene, we have to put that cap on and say, we have to work. We're here to work. And we have to kind of put all of our personal feelings aside to say, okay, we've got to either figure out what the crime is here, figure out what happened, who did it, and you have to put that trauma aside to figure that out.
See, you say that, and I'm really curious about that, because I'm curious how your brain works when you pull up on this. And not that you're immune to it. I doubt you're ever immune to
No,
it.
no,
but your
definitely
brain
not.
just works differently now after doing it for a while. When you roll up on a scene like that, I mean, you're looking at the body, obviously. You're looking at the surroundings. But I know in my current job, my brain works differently. I do a lot of underground locating for utility lines, and so even when I'm driving down the street, my brain just works different now. Is that how it works for you guys when you pull up on a scene? You start just seeing random things that people aren't seeing?
So I hate to steal the mic from Chuck, but we go back even further than before we even get to the scene. Our brain's already firing on a different level, because as soon as that call comes out that says, "Hey, you need to go here," we're all right. What's going to get there? What am I going to do when I get there? All right. So they've got a gun. They don't got a gun. This is what the guy's got. And let's just say it's the fire service. This is who I'm looking for. This is the house I'm trying to find. Or if it's the EMS guys, same thing. Everybody's trying to figure out, what am I going to do before I get there? Playing out scenarios in your head. So before you get there, your mind's already fired, on a molecular level.
So I'm intrigued by that. That's it's cool.
Yeah.
To think that way, but I know the scenes aren't cool.
Well-
but it's neat the way your brain works.
It's you don't
and you probably can't shut that off.
It's
either.
crazy because, and here's how I see it: is me on scene in uniform. That is my job at the moment. You driving by, looking, you see and think the complete opposite of what we see and think. And it's not that if I was in a vehicle driving by, I'm probably going to see and think that side of the deal. You know, coming from a first responder. I always like, just so Saturday or Friday, we drove up to Buffalo Point to float. We stopped at Wild Bill's. I'm outside and I heard, and I immediately turned and looked at the guy and I said, somebody just had a wreck. And he was like, what? It's like being a bouncer at a bar. You hear the bar stool fall over the music in the crowd before you hear anything. And it was like, maybe not.
That's how you met Mary, right?
Right. Her bar stool fell. I walked inside, was inside a few minutes, and here come their fire truck. And I was like, damn, I did hear a wreck. So we got in the car and left. Right around the corner, somebody pulled out in front of a motorcycle and he T-boned them. The guy's laying in the ditch. They're holding C-spine, which they're holding their neck, can't to mobilize them so they don't move. And I immediately,
now you're just making words up.
I immediately hit the brakes, and my wife looks at me, and I was like, okay, I'll keep going. This is not, but everything about me wanted to go be a part of that.
And obviously, if there wasn't anybody already there,
Right. Right.
You
Well, then
would.
that's exactly what I told her. I said, had we left a little bit sooner, sorry, we're stopping. Yeah. Because that's in my nature, that's in my blood, and that never goes away. But we, I don't know. And this ain't me going, ho, 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 I'm tough. But we had,
I've seen him do that a few times.
my grandma's not here anymore, bro. She, we had a call for a shooting over off Willow Springs Road. It's been several years ago. We get there. There's a victim laying on the porch. He'd been shot multiple times. He'd been shot.
sorry.
Somebody laughing.
Well, no, it's the dude that got her scanned us off the pooper over the weekend, and now he's here. He's like, I'm so glad the shitter brought me to y'all. That was our QR code we
Yeah,
talked
he told
about
us
earlier.
about- yeah.
Yeah, the dude's on here now listening.
Hey, I'm
thanks,
glad.
man.
I'm glad you're here, buddy.
That's
Yeah.
awesome, dude.
Where I was going with that is I walk up onto a porch. There's some pretty rough individuals around us. The deputies have already cleared the scene because as a first responder, the police go first on violent, on domestic stuff. And then they clear the scene and determine
they're
it's
better.
safe. Yeah, safe for us to come back. We get there. Gentleman's laying on the porch. He's done. Like there was no point in even dealing with him. His buddy starts screaming and yelling at all of us that you're going to save my dude, and if you don't, I'm finna fill you full of lead. And he pulls a pistol out. I immediately jumped off the porch and just kind of choke slammed him, and then held him down. And I looked at him. I said, "I'm not trying to hurt you, but you're fixing to go sit down. And if you don't sit down, we're loading up and leaving." Mm-hmm. And he immediately, he changed his tone, but his emotions were high because he just watched his buddy get shot. Yep. And I don't even know where I was at the time, but it's crazy how, I don't know. It's different.
So the normal person, they say, experiences 8 to 10 traumas in their lifetime. So that guy, when he sees that, that was one of his 8 to 10, and his body just reacts to it way differently. Yeah. Obviously, I'm not a medical doctor. We're not, we're cops and first responders, but your brain.
He's done everything else.
Right.
He just hasn't been a doctor.
Just hasn't been a doctor yet. I watched Doogie Howser as a kid, though. So yeah,
You're halfway there.
I'm halfway there. But
he's been a mortician. He's been a cop.
But on the molecular level of your brain, everybody's fires differently, right? And there's different things that add to, different causes of what happens. So his mind, this happens. Now, when the first responder gets there, we experience 800 plus traumas a year,
right,
or a lifetime. And so we're taking that trauma and we're compartmentalizing it somewhere. We're putting it in our little box and we're not going to talk about it. And we keep doing that on and on and on over all these years until one day that one finally hits you. And then Pandora's box gets opened up, and it's just a bad day or a bad, end of the career. And it's not always, we talk about suicide. People don't want to talk about it. It's an ugly word. But I'm going to talk about it because we need to get our first responders and even our, military groups, to talk about it to stop this.
Is there a number? So
we are the 22. The 22 stands for 22 veterans a day,
Or a day,
or
yeah.
22 veterans a day commit suicide. So I wonder what the number would be for first responders, if there is one.
I haven't looked to see if there's an actual number, but just to put it in perspective, we've exceeded our line of duty deaths by far every year. And I don't know what the recent numbers are that haven't came out for the last couple of years. You know, we're always delayed when it comes to statistics. But, you know, let's just say there was, you know, in 2017, there was 250, you know, line of duty deaths, but there was 390 suicides.
Right.
You know, so, and that's just what we know about, because there wasn't for a long time any kind of suicide data being collected to say this person was a first responder. You know, when the ME or whoever, you know, they just write it down, it's Joe Blow and they're done. But now they've actually started, if they were a first responder, what's those numbers? Because the Department of Justice and all them have different grants that they're trying to get out to different places to be able to help first responders, the same as what we would the military. Now, as a vet, you know, there's a lot of stuff we've seen overseas, right? And not to discredit that, but a lot of times when it comes to vets, you're only deployed for, you know, the Air Force is 3 months, you know, the Army for the year, the Marine Corps, you know, whatever. Yeah. And so there's those stints of time.
So I'm assuming he wasn't in the Air Force.
I was not in the Air Force.
He was like Air Force 3 months.
I love the Air Force. Don't get me wrong.
So
Those sisters over there in the air.
So somebody commented, and it made me think about something. So Jennifer Dyer said that we had a horrible MVA in my family. It was a 20-year anniversary just recently in the beginning of August. She said she can't imagine what the first responders felt that day as well as them. So here's what I'm going to say on that, Jennifer. More than you could ever imagine, if you and your family went to that first responders department right now today, and if there's anybody on that department that was part of that situation, and you sit down and talk to them and you shared your feelings with them, you have no idea how far that goes on both sides of it. Just being able to talk about that. Man, I go back and I feel like I get a little emotional about it just sitting here thinking about it.
Cries
But
every
I'm not
episode.
going to.
Every
I'm not going to. But
episode.
it
We'd be talking about
it just-
frogs and the tears just come out.
the frogs are great, dude. They pee on people. But it helps you, and it also helps the people there, because they like to hear. I ain't gonna say they like to hear. It's almost a therapy in a sense for them to hear you thank them. The job's not being done to be thanked. I've been called a hero, as well as I'm sure y'all, multiple times, and I will promise you there's never been one time in my life that I've ever felt like I was a hero. I went out and did a job because that's what I signed up to do. And hero was far from it. But in someone else's eyes, I potentially saved a life. Therefore, I'm a hero. That's not it. We don't do it for the crown and for the award, but to go completely opposite of what I just said, I think a reward would be you coming to me and saying, man, you know, you ran on my mom, and this is what we saw, and this is what we think, and blah, blah, blah. And to just be flat out honest, that is extremely humbling and supportive to the person that was there. So if you're in that position, don't hesitate. They're human beings. Go talk to them. So, and that, to me, that meant a lot anytime that happened.
Well, you guys hinted on this a little bit ago when you were talking about why there was a need for you guys to start what you do what you're doing. Let's talk a little bit more about that. How did you realize there was such a need for what is developed now into Heroes Behind the Line?
So back in 2017, when we first kind of come about, there was a lot of suicides that happened right here in the state of Arkansas in first responders. We had a police officer that took his own life in the parking lot of his department. We had an EMT that took her life in a fire department in this county, you know, and so all those, and it was really, you know, laying really heavy on my heart, because I am a veteran, and I'm going to be the first to admit that I am diagnosed with PTSD. And I hate saying diagnosed, because saying diagnosed with something and then having that D at the end, disorder, it's like something's wrong with you, you know, you can't be, or it's like leprosy, you can't be around people. That's not the case, and that's the stigma that we're trying to break. because when I decided that, it was time for me to get help, I wasn't being the right man that I needed to be for my family, and my job, it was lacking. I was just letting things get the better of me, and I didn't need that. And so when I finally said
one thing that we, sorry to interrupt you,
No.
but after dealing with talking to the people at the We Are the 22
Yeah.
is there's a lot of people that don't realize there's an option.
that's correct.
And so you guys are providing that option.
And because of what I grew up in with the fire service and then moving into police, because let me tell you, police don't want to talk about it because they're afraid they're going to take their guns away and all that stuff. And you're going to lose your license if you're a provider. And, yet to happen. I'm still here, right? 17 years later, we're still here and we're still working and we're loving every bit of it, right? And, in Arkansas, for people that
About
don't
to earn
know,
your doctorate, too, while you're
I was
at it.
trying. Yeah, well, maybe one day. One University of Phoenix class at a time. But the biggest thing is it's okay to have these problems. It's okay to seek treatment. And if you don't know this, Arkansas actually has laws that protect first responders for saying they have a problem and getting help.
100%.
That's amazing.
So, if you think hey, that's okay. Let them try to do whatever because, we're going to come after you with this law and say it's okay to ask for help, and that's the biggest thing. So there is help available. We try to help with that. That's something Heroes also does. So kind of going back to, we can move into this, but going back to why we needed to, we actually had a guy that we went to the police academy with, I did, and a couple others of us, and he was going through some really bad times. Had to get out of law enforcement because of some bad calls he was on and struggling, and he needed some help. So we ended up helping him get a service dog because when we got to looking, we were like, all right, well, Google knows all, right? So let's Google how to help him. And there was a million things for vets, but nothing for first responders or, anything law enforcement or nothing. So we said, well, that's going to change. Let's get this. So we started out with $27. We had a terrible looking T-shirt made by a nice lady that, had a cricket machine or whatever way back when. And,
y'all have more-
you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Y'all have more in your
worked
account
for
than
us
we.
first.
Yeah.
I was going to say, we've got $36
She
in
printed
that
our,
account
she
right
printed
now,
our
so-
shirts before y'all.
Right, and that was the biggest thing. And then we just got out and started talking to folks. And we don't get paid. This is all free services. Anything that we do to anybody
Never
that comes
heard back
in is 100% free. Because we want it to be, if you work at the biggest department in the state or if you're at the smallest volunteer department in the state, we want you to know that you're okay and you got help. Because there's no reason why you not having the insurance or your department not being able to afford it or whatever, that you have to go with no mental health assistance. So that's where we want to come in and be that. We have clinicians that we can send you to. If you want to show up in office, we can do that. If you want to telehealth with them, you can do that. There's some people like texting or whatever. They do it all, and that's the thing about it. No matter how you want to be able to get help, it's there. If you want a peer support group, because, this is essentially a peer support group right here. You guys get together, we talk, we have a good time, we laugh. And that's another thing.
We do this right here.
Yeah. And you know what? If that's what makes you feel better, there's nothing wrong with that. You get what I'm saying?
Glover
And-
loves to poop.
Well, and PTSD and mental health doesn't have to be, like I talked to Shane about earlier. When I joined the military, they called it death by PowerPoint because the PTSD stuff was just clicking through a slideshow.
Yeah.
And then we're sitting there like, this is boring. This is making it worse, if anything. So why can't people laugh and joke and talk? And, it's kind of fun sometimes to have this, back and forth and make a few jokes, even though we're talking about such a
Serious
subject.
subject.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, he called me earlier and he's like, "This may be one of the more serious shows we've ever done. So I'm
Right.
still going to push this button."
Yeah, and
So-
there's nothing wrong with that because when we do, like when I do presentations, a lot of times, we'll show up. I've got a PowerPoint slideshow that maybe say something, but then it's just funny photos that I think are funny to kind of break up the monotony because we can talk about it without you just reading off a slide. We can
Well,
get
and
personal.
if they're not paying attention, they're not going to soak in the information.
Correct.
So that's
and every place is different. So your mental health is not the same as his or his or his. You know what I'm saying? So or hers. And so the biggest thing is we kind of get there, figure out what's going on, what's going to work best. Department size is a big thing, or what you've experienced is another thing. And so we want to let people know it's okay, and we'll make it work, and we'll help you.
Well, I've got a question for you because, and it's something I've always I've been curious about. I've never served. I've never been in law enforcement, but I have a question as far as that goes. There are quite a few people who come out of the military and go into law enforcement.
Absolutely.
Does that experience in the military and going into law enforcement, does the mental health concerns translate because of that? Because of things that have happened in the military?
Well,
I'm not saying that somebody coming out of the military isn't fit to
No,
be a
no,
police.
I get
I'm
what you're saying.
But they've experienced
Yeah,
a lot more
so-
than if I were to go into law enforcement right now. which I'm too fat. I couldn't do it.
No, you can still, it's still time.
Yeah, no. What he meant to say is, yeah, you're
He don't
absolutely
like
right.
to run. Unless
Nah,
there's
I
a
don't like
bigger-
running. I can barely waddle.
I understand.
But no, I was just curious because I know there is a big population that goes from the military into law enforcement. And does that translate over into what you're doing?
I think it does. And here's the great thing about it is the military and say law enforcement the same? Now there's some differences, but there's a lot of stuff that's the same. The big thing about when you move to law enforcement from the military, like I was talking about earlier, is, if you were on that 6-month deployment or that year-long deployment or whatever, you experienced a lot of trauma over that 6 months to a year. Whereas when you come back to law enforcement, you experience that every day you get up and go to work. It never stops, So it's got some similarities, but it's also got some big differences, if that makes sense.
Sometimes it takes a minute for that to kick in too. I mean, sometimes it's
Yeah.
a.
You're not gonna know about it today.
and it's stupid, man.
Yeah.
It's a smell. It's a tree limb. It's the tiniest little trigger can just one day go, and then everything just fall on you like a ton of bricks. Go ahead.
I mean, I've seen a lot of that stuff before. Going out to a scene, like you said, the smell and the stuff. I mean, when I'm on scene, it's not something I'm thinking about.
Right.
It's
You got a job to do.
yeah, I've got a job to do. I'm trying to take care of what I need to get done, cleaning up the scene, getting the evidence that you need to get and process everything. I mean, it may be something that I've handled, 2-3 years ago.
Right.
That I could be outside cutting my grass and it could be the dumbest thing of a bird flying
Right.
over just the right way. And the color of that bird
Yep.
just reminds you of that. And there's no connection really, but for whatever reason, it triggers something in your brain to say, hey, you got a commonality with this trauma.
Right.
And when it clicks, and you can't stop thinking about it for a long time. And I mean, I'll be the first one to say that's how I got involved with this, with Travis here, was I was going through some of that. I had actually some trauma stuff that I had gone through with working in law enforcement, some of the scenes that I witnessed, some of the bodies that I've seen, and it hurt. It hurt seeing some of that stuff, and you start to feel a relationship with some of the stuff you've witnessed, some of the victims you've seen, and you feel for them, and you try to put it out of your mind and say, this is part of the job, and I need to be the tough guy and just deal with it on my own. And over time, it just kind of built up, and I reached out to Travis at one point because I just felt something in my heart to say, you know what, I've got my wife and kids at home. I need to do something for them. I got into this line of work because I wanted to show my kids that, hey, do something respectful. Do something that if you're going to do it 100%. Be that hero. I mean, that's what our motto is on our podcast, is being the hero. And I wanted to show them that. And at that point in my life, I felt like I wasn't being the hero to myself anymore. I was letting these thoughts take over. And
I have a question along those lines. You were talking about, your wife and your kids at the house, and you reached out to him for help and to talk. Did you find it difficult to talk to your wife about these type of things as compared to somebody who might have previously gone through
See,
this?
they typically don't. They stay out. I mean, I say that. My wife stayed out of it. Like, she knew that I wasn't seeing the best things, and she knew that I wasn't experiencing always. There was some stuff that was absolutely amazing, man. Some just laughter and love, and like, we came lights and sirens, but it was all hugs and laughter when we left. But there was some very horrific stuff at the same time. But I can't answer for them, but on my side,
you just did.
My wife stayed out of it. They just knew that, hey, it was almost like we're here, but we're going to let you be, kind of thing.
Well, and I understand that aspect. I'm just saying, do you find it much harder to communicate? Because I know
It's easier to talk to someone
I know-
that has experienced that or done that.
it's going to
or-
sound really
or
silly,
whatever.
but my wife is my best friend, and we talk about everything.
No, that
Look
we
at the
can-
tattoo on his arm. His first tattoo.
Your wife's
Dad's
listening,
After Dark
isn't she?
Radio.
Anyways,
Yeah, no.
I'm just along
His
those
wife's
lines.
his only friend.
OnlyFans.
I mean, I'll be honest. My wife is a complete contrast of that. No offense.
Right,
to
no,
you,
no,
but
not
my
at all.
wife, she comes.
Does your
from-
wife cook?
We both cook.
Yeah,
Okay,
she
well,
are.
she's
Mine doesn't.
completely different.
She's a
than
much
his wife,
better
yes.
cook than I am. I will give her
Yeah,
credit.
then that's not his wife.
Yeah,
But-
you're right. She is way different than his
We
wife.
come. My wife comes from having a law enforcement history background. Not herself, but her family.
But she's
so
been around it growing
Yes,
up. And
she's been around it growing up. She's extremely supportive in everything that I do. She's very supportive in everything I've done to this point. The biggest thing I think that I dealt with was I didn't want to talk about a lot of the stuff that I was dealing with. I didn't want to talk about certain
You're too
aspects
tough.
of it.
You're not. You're
It
supposed
wasn't
to
really
be
a
tough.
tough. It wasn't. I
Right.
don't think it was a tough thing for me. It was more of there are certain aspects of certain ideas and stuff that would come into my head as far as dealing with that trauma that I didn't think there was an issue because I just kind of compartmentalize it. Just stop thinking about
were
that.
you-
Maybe
were
you don't
you-
need two people in the same house feeling the same things.
well, were you worried about what she would think about you if you were thinking certain thoughts?
There were times that I was concerned about that. There were certain things I wouldn't want to discuss with her at first, mainly because I was afraid. I was afraid of what she would think of how I was dealing with things. And that fear was wholeheartedly just mine. I projected that onto myself, and that was something that I had to learn that you don't have to think that way. You can talk to them about that. You can talk to your wife about this. You can seek help with somebody else and get help.
And I
To
appreciate you
jump-
sharing that because there's probably somebody out there listening right now that hears that and they can resonate
Well,
with
that's
that.
where I was headed with that. So we have been, and it's because it's the subject that we all know and understand, but mental health is mental health. So with what he just hit on, it don't matter what you're going through, whether you're a first responder, whether you're a school teacher, whether you're just an everyday mom, no matter what you are a human being. And man, I have always been just so easy just to go, oh, well, and carry on. Like, there's a couple little small things that come back to me, and it all comes back from my first responder time. But man, I hear my wife talk about things, and in the beginning, I was like, why are you so weak? Like, what's wrong with you? But she punched me a few times and told me I was an asshole and made me
very
realize
accurate, very
that-
accurate.
Do you need to show us on the bear?
I need to show it from the bear
What me and Mike would love to do right now is punch you a few times.
Right? Punch me. Let's get it, dude.
But no, you say that, and seriously, if we're bringing home all this trauma and we keep compartmentalizing it, eventually it's going to turn into stuff like that because
It's gotta go somewhere.
It's going to go somewhere, and then it starts. You're sending it to your family, and then your family's upset. Why do you think law enforcement and first responders have the highest divorce rates of any other profession?
100%.
This is why. You know what I'm saying? Why do we have the issues?
See, I heard
that
pro
we have?
wrestlers were probably the number one.
Well,
so-
maybe so.
Your
but-
mom.
but and it's just one of those deals. And then also, alcohol addiction. Like nobody's saying you can't drink a little bit, but if you're trying to suppress everything with alcohol, come holler at us. We've got some stuff we can help you with that. And that's the big thing is we want to do healthy things to try to get past this and not do destructive things.
So we're talking about come holler at us, but let everybody know how can they holler
So
at
the
y'all?
easiest way is obviously we're Heroes Behind the Line. We've got Facebook, we got all the Instagram, social media.
We'll share it all on our page too.
Follow us at www.heroesbehindtheline.com. There you can go to the website. Because we talked about this too, is we just started our own podcast as well.
I was going to ask about the
Yeah, we
podcast.
did.
What made
It's-
you want to
it's-
start a podcast?
Well, because here was the deal, not
And can you teach us how to do it?
well, that's what we're here for right now. Hopefully we can learn from y'all. So the big thing about the podcast is we'd kind of kicked the idea around, and what if you don't want to go to the counselor? A lot of
Well,
people don't want to admit that.
So
they need the
Ashley
help,
on
right?
here, when you said something about
Compartmentalizing.
Thank
He
you.
can't
I went to
spell it.
public school. It's not always my fault.
All 18 years.
She said, "Don't let a therapist hear you say that." And here's Ashley is.
With two E's.
I'm gonna do my best to
Different
talk
Ashley?
about this for just a moment. And Ashley, so her husband, who is no longer with us, they were riding on a 4-wheeler together and had a wreck. He didn't make it. She was on the back. Just so happened he was a very good friend of mine. He was an extremely good friend of my brother, and this guy had a heart of gold. It drives me crazy sometimes thinking about what she went through.
and he was just my friend, but that was her husband. He was a great dude. Sorry, I knew this was gonna happen, but whatever.
Every episode.
But she's on here and she's talking and she's commenting and she's saying things. So it all goes back to, what is she feeling right now? What is she thinking about right now? I know my heart hurts for her, and I didn't really know her, but I knew Chris. So it's just something that we've got to think about, that even though I may be the tough guy and I've got a heart of steel and can't nothing touch me,
He's a big sissy.
hence the tears in my eyes right now. You don't know what the next person is going through. And I heard someone comment, it may have been a TikTok, it may have been something, and this guy walked up to another guy and was like, "Hey buddy, what's up? How are you?" "Oh dude, I'm awesome." And they smiled and knuckled up, and as they walked by, the guy that said he was awesome hung his head low again, because he was fronting, I guess you would call it. He was
Well, there's a stigma attached to it, I'm
is.
assuming, and
A big one.
and it's hard for people to acknowledge, especially big burly men like me, muscles and.
that's fat, dumbass. I mean,
It's hard to admit weakness, and it's not a weakness, but
But
to us,
you asked
it
why
feels like a weakness.
You asked why we started this podcast, and this is exactly why. So if you're the big muscled up dude like yourself, and you feel like it's not
Comedy hour, guys.
we're reading a book in a little bit.
Oh, here I got you.
Oh, we have that
No
somewhere.
problem. There
He's
it
going to
is.
hit everybody.
But because not everybody wants to go to the counselor, not everybody wants to go to a therapist or whatever. So turn into our podcast. Listen, there's some stuff that you hear, just like Shane, man. Shane's over here talking about how he's got this problem and that problem. He's not afraid to admit it. And look at all the things he's did.
Yep.
Look at what you guys have done or what we've done. And if one person watches this show and says they're not okay, and that's the same problem I got, then that's cool. That I'm okay. We're good with that. That's what we're about. That's why we want to do the podcast. That's why we want, even if it's just us laughing and joking and having a good time.
But like you said, it's therapy.
Therapy, no matter how you get it, whether it's like this in group therapy at a session, if you need to do EMDR, moving into some more, advanced stuff, whatever it takes. Because if we save one person, that's what we're here for. That's all we care about.
You said EMDR?
Yeah, so
What
that's
is
a
that? What is
whole
that?
other thing. It's eye movement therapy that they do with lights and stuff like that. And it's the purpose of it is to realign the brain and the functioning and firing and all that. I'm not the therapist type that can explain that well, but that's essentially
It's part of his PhD he's working on.
yeah. I'm trying to University of Phoenix.
We'll get him
class
back
to
next
take it.
year when he gets that.
Yeah, but that's what it's for. And I haven't personally experienced it. That's why I don't want to go just head deep. But it's basically, they are able to try to help realign you and get the neurons and the brain stuff realigned to try to help move past some of this stuff that you're holding on to.
So you said you guys started the podcast. How deep are you into it? How many episodes have you done? One. Is it
So
just the two of you?
Well, so me and Chuck here, like I said, I'm the director. He's the director of communications, but we also have my deputy director, which is Keith. Keith couldn't be here with us today.
How many directors do you need?
Well, we used to.
Do you have a
we
direct- do you have a
directors for ours?
but
Why are you
here's-
bashing
do you
the
have a
director?
director of directors?
We have directors of directors, and the big thing was it was like, well, it's like you could be a president, vice president, and all these made up. We don't care. Call us what you want to. We're here to help you. Okay, we don't care.
I wanna
But
be- I'm gonna be
we
vice
had to put
chancellor. That's what
something-
I wanna be.
Absolutely, yeah, Senator Palpatine, whatever you want to be, buddy. Whatever you want. And that was the big thing. So we don't care about titles. That's why everybody's a director, just because, when it comes to a 501c3, which we are, there's some stuff that they ask, and we just kind of had to have silly names to be it. And that's what we came up with.
Okay.
It means nothing. We don't get paid. It's all, we volunteer every bit of our time, and nothing that we get donation wise or anything goes to my pocket. We're not
We feel that.
yeah. And so everything you see now, talking about the website, we do have one. Go check it out. We're trying to get our merchandise store up similar like y'all have.
Yep.
Share it, Glover.
Yeah. And so whenever we do, every money,
I will in just a second.
here's how we make money, guys. If y'all like and share us and then buy a T-shirt, that
It
$20
helps.
T-shirt, that pays for somebody's counseling.
Right.
You know, we were at the Arkansas EMT conference over the last weekend, you know, in Hot Springs, and we sold, I don't know, $1,000 worth of T-shirts. That's going to go to help 10 first responders with counseling, and that's what we do. And everybody's like, I can't, is that all? That's what we're doing. So if you see a T-shirt, you see a hat, whatever, a sticker, give us $1 or $2 for it. We're going to say thank you, and then we're going to take that and put it right back into helping Arkansas first responders.
Nice.
Tell you what, y'all go buy our T-shirts and then go buy their T-shirts. And for every T-shirt that we sell, we're going to keep all the profits. And I'm just kidding.
Shameless plug there.
It's all about like just supporting everybody around you. And, and the deeper we get into this show, the deeper we get into everything that Dads After Dark has become. It's crazy how so many people will just come to you, and because I mean we got a girl that every time we go live, she's here.
Yep.
Every single time. It doesn't matter what the hell's going on. If we're live, she's here. And that's what it's all about is we're making friends, we're getting support. Hell, we could be mental health helpers, whatever the proper term may be, to
Somebody said, "Who's Michael?" Who's the guy in the green shirt?
The bald guy with the beautiful beard. Wait,
Nobody can see your hair.
so it's just again it goes back to and my wife has said this to me a million times, I get
That's
pissed
the
off.
pooper guy.
I get the pooper guy.
He just wanna know who is who.
So all right, so I'm Outlaw.
smokestack.
Smokestack.
That's Smokestack.
That's Mikey G.
That's Mikey G.
The bald and beautiful.
Hey, go ahead.
I'm Travis.
And that's
Travis.
Travis.
I'm Chuck.
And that's Chuck.
Travis and Chuck.
They are the
Is that the-
heroes
We're
behind
heroes
the
behind the
lines.
line, yeah.
And
Line.
I like lines.
But they didn't name it that.
So if
quit
you want to
saying
know
it.
where that came from, because everybody's kind of curious, like where did that come from? If you know
The
anything,
thin red line,
you got
the thin blue line,
exactly.
yeah, right.
And if you look at our logo, whenever you get to it, there's some people running around. Those
right.
are actually first responders. So
Right.
if you don't know that, just kind of give we put a lot of thought into what our logos were.
We did too, man. We were at El Chico having margaritas.
we were just talking about this.
And we came up with it on a paper towel or a napkin out there on a.
We got
That's
it.
about
So
it.
our podcast is Be the Hero podcast, and we'll get into that in our show about where we come up with that name. But we were trying to figure out like what.
No, you have to say it here on ours first.
Yeah.
So I'll let it go. So,
Your people aren't listening.
and
We're gonna.
no, yeah. So
Well, actually, we just tagged. So
a great friend of mine that I've known since the 6th grade, my best friend in the whole wide world, Ron Thomas.
You know how I know you're lying?
he said, "Friend."
See, I got a friend.
I stole that from.
Yeah.
See, earlier he said something about a friend, but he was in a moment, and I'm like,
Right.
I bit
You-
my
you
tongue.
let it go.
And I
Yeah,
let
yeah,
it
yeah.
go.
Hey,
It's not the moment.
JG.
JG, what's up, buddy?
So Ron Thomas was a great friend of mine, and literally my best friend. And Ron was the first.
Take that,
responder
buddy.
To, he
I'm a new
knows.
friend.
Yeah. So Ron, we grew up together. I became a police officer shortly after he became a police officer. I got him into the fire service, and we spent a lot of time together. Well, over the years, he did a child safety program at the sheriff's office we worked for, and he called his program "Be the Hero." That came from another great mentor of ours, Dave Phillips, that passed away several years ago. Dave used to own the skating rink in Sheridan, Arkansas.
Okay.
And so Dave was always be the hero, no matter what. And so that kind of instilled in us over the years. Dave passed away in a car accident. And Ryan also passed away after having a heart attack at 35 years old. A lot of it because of stress and bad stuff from the job and all that. And so with all that carrying on, what better way to try to pay, homage to him and sound good for us was to be the hero. And
you
so
go.
I wanted to be
I
able
like
to
it.
continue that legacy, and so that's why we came up with it. I spoke to Ryan's mother and said, hey, look, this is kind of what we want to do. And she said, absolutely. So we'll have a deeper, in-depth, conversation about Ryan and some of the struggles that he faced, and it's struggles that we can all face in this job. And, ultimately, it can turn out good. It can turn out not so good, and that's what we want to be is if we can teach you a little bit how to maybe handle some of those and cut it off before it gets bad, that's kind of what we want to try to do.
Absolutely. And I got questions about that first podcast that you guys did.
Yeah.
Number one, what was the response to it?
Number two, what kind of equipment did y'all use?
So I'm going to let the director of
Well,
communications.
I was going to say,
talk
question
about
number
that.
two as a follow up to that is what did you learn from that first podcast?
So
We've learned a lot over 3 years.
we are trying to learn off that first podcast. We just posted it, I think, on Friday or Saturday this past weekend. Just trying to get it out there, get the message out there. We weren't really concerned with a lot of the stats off the first podcast, just because we want the message to go out. So we're trying to promote it out, get it out to all Facebook, Instagram, all those outlets. And I mean, that was mainly the idea of the first podcast, was just get it out, get started up. And I mean, we'll say it right in the beginning of the podcast that we don't know what we're doing. We don't know
We're
how
3
we're doing
years
this.
in,
We're
we
trying to
still say
figure
it.
it out.
Oh,
So
shit.
that's the big point.
See what we're doing in the middle of ours?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, so we have really rode the first responder train here, and just mental health in general. There's several people that's been hanging out in here. Y'all just need to understand that there is always somebody that is there to help you. So if you feel whatever it may be, you're down, you're out, you're depressed, something. I mean, you can't cope, you can't figure it out.
Call somebody.
Don't let that drown you.
Call somebody.
Pick up the phone, whether it's your best friend has a clear mind when you don't. Call them.
I'd much rather talk to you on the phone in the middle of the night than try to speak at your funeral.
Right.
You know what
Call
I'm
a
saying?
complete
Yeah.
stranger. Call
Call
somebody.
reach
National
out to us.
Suicide
We'll get you in
Hotline.
touch
Exactly.
with whoever you need
Whoever.
to,
Now,
whatever. But
Going off of that too, we want to let the spouses know they have help available through us as well. Because here's the deal: if I'm having a bad day, I go home. I'm bringing that negative energy or whatever in, and it's affecting the kids and whatever. We do spousal stuff too, counseling. There's stuff out there to get the spouse to be able to understand if they need some help. Like if you don't understand why your husband or your wife's acting the way they are or whatever. And we do some classes. We brought people in before to teach the spouses how to recognize that, how to try to help bring them back down to earth. And I mean, like I said, you're not going to be a PhD doctor at the end of it, but it gives you some tools to be able
You
to
might.
help. Yeah, University of Phoenix,
Yeah.
as soon as I can online.
What up, D-Hop?
But yeah, so that's the biggest thing.
But
I know the We Are 22. They'll reach out. They'll go in the middle of the night, and I'm assuming you guys are basically the same. Like you reach out to us at 2 in the morning.
An emergency is an
Somebody's going to get
emergency.
back to you as
so
quickly as
the
possible.
biggest thing is,
maybe
if you are actively in a mental health crisis, call 911. Don't worry about
Yes.
Facebook. Call 911. Get to a local facility and get help. Okay,
100%,
Because we are strictly our volunteers, and we don't have like a 24-hour helpline. But But if you get to that point, we do have Copline that we can use. So if you're in it, we can give you all the links to all that. And, Copline, it's strictly for police, because that's something else we didn't talk about was first responders are totally different when it comes to mental health. They don't want to talk to just anybody. So the people that we utilize are mental health or professionals, or either were first responders or were active military, or somehow related to the first responder spectrum. Because
Absolutely.
when I talked to my doctor that the VA sent me to, I'm looking around at all the stuff on the walls, and I'm like, where's all the military stuff?
This dude was in the
Exactly.
Marines.
No,
I'm
this
out.
guy, he was in nothing. That was the point. So when I asked, I said, man, what branch of the service do you serve in? He was like, I didn't. And I was immediately like, nope, I'm done. I'm not talking to you. You don't understand a word I'm about to say. You don't understand nothing that I feel. And so how can we relate if we don't know? And not saying that there's not really good people out there that can help that aren't
Absolutely.
a first responder, but for the most part, we're going to send you to some really, really good people that understand it because they were there in the trenches with you. They may not have been standing there, but they were down the road in another trench or whatever. So they understand where you're coming from.
Well, just know that there's somebody out there, period.
Always.
And there's the guy beside you right now. There's no telling what he's going through. My wife says it to me all the time because driving down the road, I get pissed off, man. I'm just like, it's dark.
all the time.
Somebody cuts over in front of me, speed limit's 45, they're doing 25. I just want to drive, and I'm pissed off. Now, I'm not acting a fool to where they can see me. I'm just saying things. I'm like, God dang it, won't you just get out of the way?
He's this guy right here,
So?
that close to the bumper in front.
No,
of
I'm really not that close. Maybe closer.
He's actually probably on time.
him. There he is.
But so, and she's quick to remind me. She was like, why are they driving slow? I don't care. What if they can't see right now? I'm like, get someone to drive you, or what if they're old and this is their only, they have to go right now. Like, so she throws out 25 scenarios as to why I'm wrong. Like every time, not just here and there, but
about everything.
so many times in a row, it starts to make you wonder,
He's
you
wrong
know,
a lot.
like she might be right just a little bit, you know. So I'm never going to tell her that because she ain't listening right now because
listen
I've
to the
been
show? I was
watching.
about to say, yeah.
She does
Nah,
listen.
she's got better stuff to do.
Yeah, she's not
Well,
My
listening.
D-Hop.
wife's listening. You're right all the time, honey.
Shasta's out there. Yeah, she's definitely not
Oh,
listening.
She's got
good,
better
man,
stuff
yeah.
to do, like not cooking dinner.
Because there's no comments. Yeah,
wasn't going
she'll
to cook dinner.
she'll burn the house
She's just
down.
waiting for you to come inside after this.
Yeah.
What does she say? Honestly, I
Sit down.
believe that any and all cops need a new approach to those who are suicidal. November 21st, almost 8 and 9 millimeter. When I called 911 for help, it was more scary than having them there to help than trying to deal with it on my own. So
That can be understanding.
100%.
And to help you a little bit with that, that's something that most departments in the state are really working on. You know, the critical, CIT training, the critical intervention techniques and stuff like that. The state's passing that, most departments, they passed a law that said that they're supposed to have a certain amount of the people that work for their agencies be critical, the CIT trained. And so that's the biggest thing. So it takes time. Mental health is a big game, and the biggest thing is money. Who's going to pay for it? Who's going to
Exactly.
help? And so talk to your senators. We always recommend talking to your representatives and senators to try to help us get laws passed, because that's something else Heroes does as well. When it comes to first responders, we're always trying to get better coverage under workman's comp, because there is no mental health for workman's comp, right? Unless there's a physical injury. So last year or 2 years ago, we were in session trying to get laws passed. Unfortunately, got beat down. But guess what? 2 years before that, they didn't talk to us at all.
Right.
So this year, we're going to
progress.
be right back into it, and we're going to, the mistakes that we had, try to get those fixed. So if y'all can help us to get better understanding, because as much as the stress you were going through, and not to put off your stress, or my stress is worse than yours, but what was that officer? What 20 calls did he go to before he got to that house?
Stress
And I'm
is
not,
stress.
And I'm not using that as a crutch and say that what they did was right or wrong. But if we could get better help with us, then we could help the public better.
Correct.
Or, and then if the EMS guys could get a little break, they could help the people they respond to better.
and it
But
kind of
also
goes
know
back.
that
It's a circle that
you
just keeps
now
going.
now you have other people, other avenues to reach out and go down. You
Right.
got the you guys, and you got the We Are 22, and
Correct.
So back when he was doing that, I don't know when it was. He didn't say, but
Right.
maybe there wasn't those. But
Maybe
now
not, yeah.
seeing this, and he can spread it to somebody else, and there is avenues that you can go down. That
Well,
that-
it just-
okay if you call and that officer or whatever wasn't what you wanted. Hey, there's somebody else you can reach out to and try that avenue, and let's
Right.
Well, and I've often wondered too, especially when it comes to police officers and firefighters and the things that they see and that they go through, why there isn't more mandatory support groups.
One word, funding.
Right.
Yeah.
But it also goes back to how many would actually go.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If it's
But
mandatory,
that's where we're breaking
Right.
the stigma
Well,
down.
see,
That's where we're having
mandatory-
these conversations. If you make it mandatory, nobody
nobody
wants to
will ever go.
Nobody wants to go. You never want to go to a mandatory meeting, and that's why I'm.
Well, I was told this radio show is mandatory. It's the only reason I'm here. So.
It's
late.
even the
And
point
he's
of if
always
you
late.
make something mandatory and you force them to go to it, they may go to it, but they're not going to listen.
Yeah, 'cause-
it's
'cause
now
I
you
have
force
to be
this
here.
training on somebody. They don't want to listen to it. But if you make it to something to where it's it's beneficial to them, then they'll actually enjoy it. They may actually get something out of it, and they're more willing to listen
I
to it.
was wrong. My wife was listening.
Yeah,
She
and-
was listening to his phone, and she said all she
Way to go,
heard.
JG.
All she heard was me say that she was right.
You're in trouble now.
She did. She
But
did.
like they
comment.
said, mental health therapy and medication is difficult and,
Right.
and very
well,
expensive.
that's what we were just
But
talking about.
That's what these guys were saying. They
Right.
they help with all that
So-
and take care of that.
and
stuff.
that's through the
it's-
first responder side. So we actually was supposed to had in general, a mental health expert call in, and she said she wanted to, but apparently something got in the way and she wasn't able to do so. But I can, on a personal level, with what my wife just said about mental health and therapy plus the medication is difficult. So there is I'll use my son as an example. It doesn't matter. I am 100% and have been my entire life against medication for like ADHD and stuff like that, because I feel for the most of my life, I felt that it was a crutch for the parents, I learned with my son that's not the case. we would purposely not give him his medication and regret it because he's just everywhere. He's very high energy. He's everywhere. He needs it to calm down a little bit. He may get that from me.
Which is amazing because he never eats, and how
Never
that kid
eats.
is still
Like,
alive. is
it's
beyond me.
unbelievable.
He hasn't eaten a meal in like 7 years.
But he
That's because his mom can't cook.
that ain't no shit. They
She might be out here in a minute.
they make it almost
This is why we don't put our backs to the door because she comes in.
that's exactly
We're
right.
the first ones.
Always looking at the
Exactly why. 100%. That's hilarious. You said that. We'll go to a restaurant. My wife will purposely sit to where my back is to the wall every time. But
Mine too.
so there's some
Y'all thought-
medication.
You think there was some crazy things in the military? Y'all ain't seen a pissed off big head Marriott. So
we need medication. It's a different medication that Chase needs to take. And
Horse tranquilizer.
that when I tell you they make it extremely difficult for us to get, they're like, okay, you've got to go through 72 therapy sessions.
Yep.
We've got to come 3 times a week.
Yep.
It's got to be at 2 in the afternoon.
Was you taking him to the VA? Because that sounds very similar.
Right. But it's like, it is extremely difficult. And this is not just him. I'm using that as an example for any and everybody out there that if it's that damn hard to get something, it explains why there's so many homeless veterans on the street,
Right.
because that's the only way they can deal with their demons is in the trees, in the woods by themselves.
Very well put by Mary right here. She says that we have to take off work and school, plus money, appointments, medication. Some people have to decide between feeding their family and
taking
their mental
medication.
health.
You're exactly right. Now,
So-
I can give you a resource, though. I want to help, even if you're not a first responder. Obviously, if you're a vet, VA, all right. If you're a family of a vet, the vet center, right? So the vet center
Right.
provides free stuff to family members if they're in the criteria. They don't have to have been in the military, but they do have that option there, right? That's at the vet center, which is different than the VA. So, but then another one, if you've got nothing else going for you, the crisis stabilization unit, there's a couple regional ones across the state. The closest one to us is going to be in downtown Little Rock, right next to the Pulaski County Sheriff's Office at the very front. Okay. The crisis stabilization unit was set forth by the state. It's ran by UAMS, right? And so anybody that's got any kind of crisis whatsoever going on, they can go there 24/7, 365 and get help. They will put them in a place if they need a place to stay. They will get them clothes. They will get them a shower because, you know, if you're coming off the street talking about homeless veterans and stuff, if you've been on the street for 6 months and you ain't had a shower, the first thing that's going to make you feel better is a hot shower with all you, and they will take care of you. Now, you don't have to be a homeless veteran. You can be anybody. And they will also go as far as, you know, getting you treated if you need it. They'll get you everything set up. If you need a place to stay, they'll do their best to, you know, work with the resources we have to get you that point. They have places to stay there for a certain period of time. And it even goes as far as you can get up to 30 days of free medication paid for, and that's part of, people don't understand that. So when you get that medication, and hey, they've told us before, like, if they have to come back every 30 days when they're in a crisis, then so be it.
Right.
But it's there.
Awesome.
So don't feel like even if you're not a first responder, you got places to go.
I'm going to use another personal experience, and this was when I was when I was an active first responder. If I say the deputy's name, you'll immediately know who he is. I'll just tell you he's a black man that wears a cowboy hat all the time.
Know exactly what you're talking
Know exactly who I'm talking about. So I was coming home from work, headed to work. I passed a gentleman walking down the road who was pacing in front of a home. Caught me off guard. So I called dispatch and I was like, yo, what's up? It's Preator. Y'all need to send somebody over here. Not sure what's going on, but y'all might ought to send deputy over here just to check this out. They said, all right, we got somebody on the way. So I went just around the corner and parked to where I was out of sight, but I could see everything that was going on. Deputy shows up. He parks in the middle of the street. He gets out. He's standing in front of his police car, and he's having a conversation that appeared to be civil based on the body gestures and everything else. And in the middle of the conversation, the guy tried to walk away. The deputy grabbed him by his elbow. He yanked away from him and then just kind of bowed up on him real quick. Now I'm going, okay, this deputy's by himself. I'm going to go over there, stay out of the way, but I'm going to help him if it comes down to it. I pull up behind the cop car. I sit there. I'm minding my own business. I'm just watching everything. The guy tries to walk away again. The deputy grabs him by the elbow. This time, the gentleman yanks away from him, and in the exact same motion, he drops an elbow across the bridge of that officer's nose, follows it with a right hook. And when I tell you that officer was in the middle of the street, postured up, he was done. I immediately stand out of my vehicle. I had a 40 on my hip. I pulled my pistol. I drew down over the portion of my door that was open, and I'm squeezing the trigger because he is standing over the body of the officer, and he is reaching for his weapon. I'm squeezing the trigger. I mean, in my head, I'm waiting on boom. If I would have had a higher end pistol with less trigger travel, I would have shot the man. Something came over me, and this is where I'll tell you that, we stay away from religion and stuff like that, but I'm going to tell you, God grabbed my hand and said, don't do this. I let go of the gun. I tossed it in the seat of my car, and I just yelled at him. I was like, hey. He turned and looked at me, and he rips his shirt off like Hulk Hogan and stares at me. I now have his attention. The deputy's not in his eyes anymore, and he starts towards me. I shut the door of my truck, and I haul ass after him. Well, he takes off running. We're in a sprint down the road. I end up catching him. I put him in a chokehold. He headbutted me, and then I put him to sleep. All the deputies came. He got arrested. He was taken to jail. I had to go talk to Doc. He was the sheriff at the time still, and we had a long talk and all this, that, and the other, and it was like, why didn't you shoot the man? And I was like, honestly, I don't know. The deputy's life was in danger, yada, yada, yada. Well, in the whole vision of everything, he was a bad man, and he was hurting a police officer. But I knew something wasn't right about the situation. So a few weeks later, we got a call over off of Franklin, off of Ironton Road. Very end of Franklin, we get down there, and this dude comes out of the house. He was like, hey, buddy, what's up? And I was like, I didn't know what to do. But I instantly knew who he was because I'd ran on his family multiple times. This dude walks around with a Bible in his hand 24/7 and prays to God, and he loves Jesus, and he's like the best man in the world. But he's got something wrong up here, and he could not afford his medication that week. He was out of the house. Nobody knew he was out of the house, and he almost died because he couldn't afford the medication to counteract his mental health. So it was the most, hands down, out of my experience in life with everything I dealt with on fire trucks and all that, that was the slowest moment in my entire life as far as how everything played out. But it just makes me think constantly about if he had his medicine, that wouldn't have been there. And then what my wife said about my son, if it's that hard to get your medicine, how can you blame and how can you not help these people? You know this from being an officer and all these other officers. There are heroin addicts who are overdosing daily who get brought back to life for free every day. For free. But you've got folks out here on the streets that can't afford to get the help they need. And that's what's amazing about folks like this. I know there's other hotlines, there's other numbers, there's other things. Where I'm going with that is, again, I've said it, you don't know what someone else is thinking. You don't know what someone else is going through. Pick up the phone and call somebody. And that will prevent things like that from happening. That will prevent bad things from happening in your life, from other people's lives. Like, it's okay to not be okay.
Yep. As cliche as it sounds, it's completely fine. And that's if we could get past the stigma and let mental health conversations be the norm, then nobody will know any different. 5 years ago, nobody would talk to, us at all about this kind of stuff, So the more years we progress, the more education it comes out, the better training we can all get, the better this is going to get for everybody.
So Josh on here made a comment. It says, I work for a company where if I have an appointment in the AM, I cannot work for the rest of the day. So that's amazing that you work for somebody that
let you have the whole day.
That cares.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because it's not that big of a deal, but just think, I got to get up. I got to get to the doctor. I got to do this. I got to get back to work. I got to go here. I got to go there. That can create a lot of tension and stress in one person's life. Yep. Just on that one particular day. And that could be the day that bad stuff happens.
Yeah. And, something to think about is a lot of people over the years, and I hate to bring this up, but you know, we work for the companies we work for, whether it's law enforcement or not law enforcement or whatever. But, you know, after 28 years, when you go to retire, you know, what's the company going to do for you? You know, you get a cake or, you know, you get the golden watch or whatever it is that they're going to give you. And then that's kind of the end of it. But over those 28 years, how much back-breaking stuff did you do for that company?
Yeah.
You know, how many times did you go to work sick or need help and, you know, whatever. So the biggest thing I'm trying to get at is take your time. If you need a day to reconvene yourself, there's nothing wrong with going and talking to a doctor and getting help, or taking a mental health day if that's what your department
Well,
or
that seems
agency
to be
can
a
help
new
with.
trend too,
Yeah.
and you see that,
Right.
And you see that in professional athletes. You
Right.
see that across the board, having a mental health day.
Yeah.
That's
And you know,
every day, every now and then. You just need a day to go fishing.
yeah,
Lisa,
and,
you're right.
And not saying to abuse that and not go to work
Yeah,
and
but-
not do what you're supposed to, but man, if you're just how productive, you know, Shane, how many times do we talk about like when volunteer firemen, right? When that pager goes off, we go screaming out the door 90 to nothing to get. But if we wreck before we get to the station,
What
how are we
good are
helping
we?
anybody?
Right.
Same thing. So you take that and you say, all right, well, if I'm not here mentally to work today, how am I helping anybody?
Right.
You know, and that's the biggest thing. So we want to be able to keep helping people.
And that could be a car wreck on the way to the, because it's so easy to focus on something when you're not really focusing on anything, but your mind is gone, but you're still driving down the road.
Absolutely.
Like I don't know. Like I said, it's me. I've always been, you know, that tough, hard nose, you know, on the outside, but golly, I mean, like I said, I don't ever just dwell on anything, but but it just, the more I hear, the more I think, the more I understand that there's a lot of people going through a lot of shit in this world.
Yep.
And right now, you got to think about it. You've got
He
people
paused
who
for so long,
cannot,
like he was thinking about it.
you've got people, gas prices are going up. Groceries are going up. The necessities in life are more
Life is
expensive
hard.
than they've ever been right now. The necessities, not cars and boats and campers and food and groceries and things that you have to survive, are more
Cupcakes.
expensive. Cupcakes. I mean, this is amazing about what we have going on here, because
You want to talk about helping
Mama
people.
Cheeseman, this is mental. This is therapy, and what better way
Well,
to
so
help?
I asked her. I said, "Well, what'd you bring the cupcakes for?"
Chocolate.
You know what she said?
Chocolate.
Child's anniversary,
It is. It's
potiversary.
anniversary.
So she brought us cupcakes.
Here's what we're going to do. We really run on this. We really wanted to go deeper on.
Give her the microphone.
No, I was just saying I haven't got to listen to
We're moving on. Thanks for coming by. Appreciate you being here.
the whole thing, but my husband is a veteran and was overseas for a year. He is weird. I love him. But when you are in certain situations, most normal people aren't put in those situations and they don't know, you know, what it's like. And I mean, I have anxiety. I'm not in that situation. I have anxiety, and I know how tough it is for me some days, depending on, should meet my child.
Yeah, no joke.
But it, you know, and just imagine how people don't stop and think, like everything that just, it compounds on each other. It's not that one call that's a bad call. It's not that one week that's a bad week. It's day after day after day. They're meeting people on their worst day of their lives.
Yep.
And you might have a bad day, and then you're having to meet somebody and take on that load and take on that. It's like you're taking on the bad goo of the world, and it just builds up. And I just shout out to y'all that see that and see a need for that. But anyway.
Well,
So,
and we're
Lisa-
super appreciative of everything that everybody said, and don't think this is a hey, look at us, you know,
No.
whatever. You know, we want to get better so we can.
You got to
we can
shine
help
the
people,
light if you
know.
want people to
The
see.
bigger you become, the more you can do.
Correct.
That has been our motto
Exactly.
since day one.
I asked someone the other day. I said,
Oh, Rod. There you go.
no one will see you if you're not shining that light.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you gotta put it out there. You've got to work hard to get that out there. I mean, we do our best to help people just in general. This year we did a fundraiser. We helped out a few single moms. We give to the park that we always give to. So
But the bigger we become, the more we can do. The more we can give back.
So Lisa in California just said that she has actually written a book. I've written and published a book about verbal and mental abuse so she can help others.
Lisa, are there Is it Lisa?
Yes.
Are there pictures in it for you? Pop-up book?
Look,
Coloring book.
Is it a coloring
I'm
book?
tired of you making fun of me,
That's bullying, Mike.
I know.
asshole.
He deserves it. Though.
So we've hit on this, and like we truly want everybody to know that as stupid and as ignorant as we are sometimes, if you ever pick up the phone and shoot us a message, I promise you, if we are available, we're going to help.
If it's before 9 o'clock on Saturday morning, me and
Do not
Glover
put me
will
in a-
be. But
don't put me in a group
he-
message.
He
I'm
gets
kicking
very
somebody's
angry
ass.
on Saturday and Sundays before about
He was
9:30.
sure responding early, bright Saturday morning yesterday.
Well, that's because we
Oh,
were
no, it's
driving
'cause he
home.
just came home.
She was in church Sunday.
We
and
were
had a
driving
group
home.
message with her, and we were.
We didn't realize it was
constantly-
with her.
It was the wrong group chat. We didn't realize it was her with her.
Me and Glover have start. Glover will send a. Glover likes to send a text like at 7:15 on a Saturday morning, and about 9:30, Shane will come back with like, "Why are y'all doing this right now?" So, yeah,
Well,
but
you'll get a
either way, if y'all
It's-
do,
it's not donuts,
if y'all
but it'll do.
reach
It's
out,
actually the
and
only
need
way
it,
to
then
we're
we'll
supposed to
get
eat a
it.
cupcake.
That's a game changer right
Specifically
there.
how
I
it's-
gotta go to the gym.
cut it in
The
half and
cupcakes
put it on
are
there,
for
so.
you guys. It shows
Thank you, Mama Cheesy. We love you.
But speaking of people
very
who,
proud to be y'all's friend, and very proud that y'all let me help out with some of the stuff. I think that for the most part, y'all are all right.
We love you.
as far as people helping people, Mama Cheesy has been with us since day one. Everything
If y'all
we've
need
ever
to get in
done,
touch
she has
with her,
volunteered.
'cause she'll do.
And
I'm telling
JG,
you can make her do odd jobs.
Yeah,
It's
that's
just
true.
the weirdest stuff.
Yeah.
That reminds me. I have Ronnie's look, decal.
I have no idea what you just said.
Albie was supposed to
You
be
said
here.
9
and he doesn't
things.
answer
He stood us up.
Facebook messages.
He may be. Albie's a busy dude. If there's something that comes up,
Well, I told
we're
him
going to
that
get put on the back burner.
I told him that we had
yes,
some special guests here. And I think it scared him.
You might have.
they may have.
But,
But speaking of people helping people, JG over here, everything we've ever done, JG's had our back.
I actually said
And
no
you can't
messing
see
Shane on.
You guys
early
can't
on
see him,
weekends.
but Jason's over here, and he's awesome people too.
Love you guys.
Number one
Bob,
intern right there.
love
Thank
you.
you, Cam.
Love you.
That's
Love you.
our intern.
Guys, it's nice meeting you
That's
guys.
by the way, podcast. That's what you need to do. You need interns. You can't pay them.
What do you think he is? He's the director of communications. He's the intern.
Oh, hey, you're
It's
director
director
of
slash
communications from now on.
So talking about that, so and we could talk about this all day long, and that was the biggest thing when we came out. We were like, man, look, we're not going to spend money on this or spend money on that because it just seemed kind of pointless. Like we want to just give every bit of money we get back to helping. So we try to get free stuff or whatever, super cheap, and
We
it's
feel
just,
that.
you know what I'm saying. And y'all exactly know. So we want to, from Heroes side, we appreciate y'all letting us come on to y'all's show, especially being the Podiversary. Even though y'all may not have remembered that or not.
We didn't, but
yeah,
did.
somebody
That's
did.
the
thank
that's
God.
the title of our show now.
Instead of his goofy butt texting us yesterday saying it,
Yeah,
he
but,
saves it.
it helps us be able to share the word a little bit more and be an outreach because the more partners we can have because we may not be able to do it all, but y'all might be able to help some. We are the 22 can help, Sheepdog,
Yep.
all these groups, and we all have just this massive resources together.
Well, and
That's
we have
what
met
we
some
try to do.
incredible
Absolutely.
people doing this.
Us too.
What is it? The Bearded Centers of Arkansas have been amazing people. Who's your bearded bully? American?
the American bearded bully guy, there's so many people that you would never think of that there's just some real honest people in this world that want more than anything to help people. Yep. And a lot of it is groups that have struggled themselves. So they know and understand, so they want to help. But just know that there's multiple avenues that you can go down to receive help. If you are having trouble doing so, reach out to us. Reach out to the Heroes Behind the Line. Reach out to We Are the 22. Reach out to Sheepdog. Reach out to anybody. You don't have to be a veteran, a firefighter, a first. Just reach out and say, hey, look, you know what? I heard y'all were talking. I really need someone to talk to right now. A human's a human. We all bleed red at the end of the day. Yeah. If you need help, reach out for help. Because, again, nobody wants to come to your funeral. No. They want to come to your birthday party. They want to celebrate your life. They don't want to celebrate what happened, why you're no longer here.
And being part of Heroes is what really kind of is my therapy, if that makes sense. So doing what I do and trying to help out is what makes me
it's
kind of
selfish in a good way.
Exactly. And if us talking on the podcast helps, and if that's something that you might be interested in, if you want to come on to our podcast and talk about your anything,
If you would like him to come on and cry, he will do it at the drop of a hat.
anybody, and whether it's anybody at this table or anybody out there listening to us now, like if you're a first responder or you deal with first responders or there's some kind of mental health support that we can get, and you just want to come talk on our, we'll come to you if we got to, or whatever. So,
Well,
Sarah
and
McLachlan
we
to
talk
play
about first responders and
right.
talk about first responders, and you talk about therapy. You talk about this. My wife is a nurse, and
Mine too.
oh, really? Where at?
Mine 3.
At the big hospital.
Oh, the big one. My wife works at Children's, and about every 5 to 6 months, her and the girls that she work with, they just need a blow off night.
Yeah.
They just need a night to go and do whatever they're going to go do.
His name's John.
And just forget. Hold on, here we go. Anyways, and I 100% understand it, because about every 6 months, if she doesn't get that, I become her punching bag unwillingly, and she doesn't realize it. So, I mean, everybody needs an outlet for their stress, for their I hate to say trauma, but they go through some stuff as well.
Ashley
Doctors
just
and-
said that we have helped her, and she is disturbed in a different way. So, so what you're on right now. So I was going to bring this up towards the end of this. This weekend, me and my wife and child went to Buffalo River and floated the Buffalo River. I knew going into it, there is absolutely zero cell service at Buffalo Point Campgrounds. None. Like, forget about it. We get there, and I knew my son was going to have a hard time with this. We got everything set up. He sits down in a chair, he grabs his phone, and he looks at it, and he was like, "Oh, Dad, there's no internet."
Oh no.
I was like, "Yeah, I know it." And he immediately he set his phone down. He crossed his arms.
Can we
he
go
looked-
home now?
He looked down his lap, and he was like, "What are we going to do all weekend?" Like, he was heartbroken. But I will tell you right now, I didn't realize how good that was going to be for me. We were completely disconnected from the world. We camped out.
That was pretty
And
good for us, too, not to hear from
right.
them.
It was
Till Sunday.
it was great. I mean, there was no cell phones, there was no TV. There was some talk radio that would barely play, and it would cut in and out. I mean, but just to be disconnected from the world, to fish, to float, to make a fire, it was very therapeutic. So maybe you're one of those people that
It was very cathartic.
you're not talking to anybody. You could give two craps about talking to anybody. I'm one of those people that why would I want to talk to somebody who truly don't care about what I'm going through? Because that's what my mind says. Take a break. Disconnect from the world. Turn your phone off. Go somewhere that there's no people. And just relax and think and breathe. And that's helpful. It's extremely helpful.
Share a little story. Me and my wife, we're expecting a child in December, so y'all pray for me. Probably pray for her because she's going to need it more than anything.
Is it your first one?
Yeah, our first one.
You're in trouble.
Yeah, so and it's a girl. So there's
shit.
I don't like them either.
I know, right? But
Bullets.
He's got
Lots of bullets.
That's exactly right.
They both.
Yeah.
He's got a full grown daughter. He's got a full grown.
I've got a
daughter.
whole slew of
And
them.
his wife's got a daughter. I mean, Glover, I meant to say.
Your
I'm
wife
sorry.
has a daughter?
Glover.
Got me.
Okay.
So,
Anyways, continue.
with all that being said, we were kind of thinking, all right, let's take a little trip, to kind of get away and reset ourselves, because with the child on the way, obviously, y'all know that it's going to be a big thing. And so we decided to do a cruise to Alaska, and so we were
That is a little bigger thing than I would have probably done, but whatever.
COVID
I mean, we
coming
could have
out.
went to like
when you-
Cancun, but you
listen,
said let's go to Alaska.
When you have 8 different master's degrees,
You're true. That's true.
Well, I don't work for Carnival, but coming out of COVID, everybody's struggling. So y'all get back on them ships and help keep that company alive, right? So everything's kind of cheap.
and
but,
he got
yeah.
internet service on there. You can keep up with his.
No, we didn't have service either. So
Whatever his Phoenix.
yeah, University of Phoenix Online. Yeah.
those online classes.
So the biggest thing is man, we get on this trip and there was just a lot of beauty to take in, going to the ports and stuff. And we make it to Juneau, and we had a trip planned, excursions or whatever they call them, and we were going to get on this helicopter, fly up into the glaciers and walk around. And I was so upset. When we make it to Juneau, it's like the fog is like you can't see we can't see Juneau. We're sitting at the port, you know what I'm saying? You can't see nothing. So obviously helicopters aren't flying. So they cancel it. Well, now we're too late because all the other stuff that was fun to do has already been bought by everybody else. And, you know, so it's too late to do anything. So we're like, dang, what are we going to do? And we're like, hey, you know, life gives you lemons. Let's make lemonade, right? And so we ended up finding there was like a tram thing or a gondola that takes you up this mountain right there in Juneau. You know, you pay your money, it takes you like 2,800 feet up or whatever it was. And we just get out and started walking on these trails and on the top of this mountain. And it was the most beautiful thing. And I think literally that could have been the worst situation. Oh my God, my trip is ruined, you know, whatever. But because my trip was ruined, I found the most beautiful thing that I've ever seen in my life.
You know why the helicopters weren't flying?
Besides your wife, right?
Besides my wife.
There you
Yeah,
go.
she's number one. I love you.
Michael, do you know why the helicopters weren't flying?
Another marriage saved. Why?
Juneau.
You know.
Wow. So we can always have, you know, the bad times, but take them and just flip them. And, you know, because what we all recognize, you know, as this is a terrible thing, but let's try to make the best out of it. Right. So, and that's, and, you know, talking about heroes, that's what we want to try to do. Is it may be the worst time, but some of the counselors that we have had talked about, you know, is it really?
That was what I was going to ask you too, is how many people are involved in this
a
organization?
lot. Yeah.
Well, a lot.
And
Is,
yeah.
There's like
So,
7.
He doesn't have a count.
Well, here's the deal. You know,
a lot could be 4. It could be 37.
No, so it
I
just
mean,
depends because we try to have stuff set up on all 4 corners of the state, right? So
I
we
got
want to
you.
be able to, no matter where you're at in the state of Arkansas, we have different people. You know, we got a lot of help early on through some people at some connections at UAMS that had some vetted resources left. So we got a lot of those. Some of the people we talked to is people we personally knew or maybe even personally went and talked to. You know, for instance, we have one in North Little Rock. I've personally talked to him. He's a great guy. You know, not to drop his name or anything like that, just because, you know, business stuff wise, you know, but he was in the military. He dealt with trauma and stuff himself. He ended up, you know, about losing his family because of everything that was going on, and then decided to become a mental health specialist himself. So now he completely understands because he went through it, almost lost everything, and then boom. And he's probably one of the best people I've ever talked to. And, you know, and that's the great thing, especially with.
Is he your director of locations?
No, he doesn't work for us. Yeah. No, yes. But, you know, and so just we want people set up all over the place. And, you know, the great thing is with Facebook and telehealth and, you know, all these, you know, great, you know, technology advances.
Doesn't matter where you're at.
No matter where you're at. We get somebody to you.
Yeah.
We can text you. They can call you. There's some that like to email. There's some that, you know, and no matter what, we got somebody for you.
Well,
No matter what corner of the state you're sitting in.
Awesome.
Well, that's awesome, and what you guys do is awesome. And what's the future look like for your organization? What do you have planned? What's on
they
the
got to wear
horizon?
shades.
Nah, I see, because it's bright.
Well, and that's the game plan. You know, obviously, and we talk about money a lot because without people like you or people that are listening to this podcast, we're not going to be here. You know, we don't get grants from the government. We don't have some kind of state funding that other groups get, you know, or whatever.
Yet.
So it's hopefully, you know, if there's anybody out there, you know, let us know. But so
We need a director of funding.
exactly. And so, you know, we beg, borrow, and, you know, ask nicely for stuff, you know, and so our game plan is to continue to be able to help, right? We want to, you know, and I'll be honest with you, you know, it's very expensive. Mental health care is expensive. And so without the donations from the people that we get, we wouldn't have any of it. So obviously a great line of funding would be great. If anybody that's happened to listen that would like to do a golf tourney, hint, hint.
Yes.
Or anything like that, you know, we
will be part of that.
We want to do something like that to get everybody out. You know, COVID really messed us up because everything we did was like going to different, you know, conferences and events and here and there. And that's where we got our bread and butter to be able to help these first responders.
Setting up booths and stuff.
Setting
here
up
and there.
booths, yeah, and just selling T-shirts, and, you know, and obviously we got PayPal. We can give you all the links if anybody wants to donate. If your birthday's coming up and you're on Facebook, and you know you can click who you want to raise your money for that nobody ever gives you money. We can be those people that
I'm
don't
tired of donating to cats.
and exactly. So, and if not, you can search for us and add us. And if nothing else, even if nobody donates, it's just getting our word out to be able to help folks.
Yep.
And that's kind of what we want to do is just getting that word out because we don't spend money on advertising or anything. It's just word of mouth. So,
Well, we got your back.
and we appreciate you guys again. We love y'all so much, and thank y'all for letting us come and talk to y'all.
It's been great.
So this is the part
Spread it out there, and now where it gets weird.
Right. This is the part of the show that everybody really looks forward to because if you don't know, we have become friends with a company called Reach Around Books. If you don't know anything about these books are perfectly it's okay to read these in front of children.
By the way, veterans love active military personnel love these books.
We have a stack of books. Yeah, we've got a stack of books over there right now that have been read, and these books will get. He just saw the title of one, I think.
Oh, here goes Lisa. Story time.
Yeah, story time. We'll pack these up and send care packages overseas with these books in them, and these guys love them.
Do we need to preface this before my kids see this?
We need it. So here's the deal. Here's what I'm
Come on,
going to
Director
say.
of Communications, get on it.
If your children can see the pages, these books are 100% harmless. But if all you can do is hear, someone's getting their ass kicked if children are around. So just know.
If the kids are watching.
Right.
Put the kids
Hang
to
on.
bed.
Tim Akers says, yes,
So-
Travis needs to read.
So what
That's
we're going
he
to do is these two guys are going to play paper, rock, scissors. The winner of the best out of 3 is going to then pick a number 1 through 5.
What are we doing?
Just all right. Paper, rock, scissors.
Paper,
Best
rock,
out of 3.
Winner.
Oh, there's one. Oh, there's one.
It's
One.
tied up.
Oh, there's 2-1. So 2 out of
for the
3.
win.
So
Travis has to read.
Travis
the,
has to read. Now pick a number between
He's
1
the
and 5.
director of rock,
Does
paper,
he get-
scissors.
Does he get to pick the number or do I?
All right, pick a number between 1 and 5. 2. So number 2 is come swing with us.
I don't think we've ever read this.
You've got two friends that
I don't believe we've ever read this.
are swinging together on a swing.
I need to contact our legal team first.
Yes, you might.
This is story time. So Travis is going to sing a book or sing. He's going
you
to
don't want me to sing.
Please,
Everybody
please.
will get off the podcast.
a
if
book
I gotta
called
sing.
"Come Swing with Us."
This is for Dustin, by the way.
Yes,
Story
by the way,
time.
Put the women and kids to bed. Not the women. The women can stay up.
This is now story time with Travis.
Y'all know I can't read right now. I went to Sheridan School District.
And this is for our friends
I
at
did
Reach
too,
Around
don't worry.
Books. Reach Around Books
What
has
year did you
generously
graduate?
donated these books to us.
05.
05? Holy shit.
Yeah, you're old, Rod.
Sorry.
Story
graduated
time.
in 2000.
Story time with Travis.
Let's get real low here.
There you go.
Talk good. So it says Tim and Kate are swingers. They really love to swing. They swing high. They swing low. They swing with Sally. They swing with Joe. When they swing, there is no norm. They swing with girls. They swing with boys. They wear their pearls and they swing with toys.
Oh,
They swing in mask. They swing in lays. But if you ask, they both will say, "We want to swing with a unicorn."
fair enough.
They switch, they swap, they push, they pull. Their swinging parties are always full. Katie will swing with 6 or more, while Tim takes picks galore.
Wow. Go on, Tim.
They're on the swing right now,
on, Tim.
swinging with
Get you
friends.
some, Tim.
Tim likes to watch, so watch he does. Tim likes to film it just because. They swing in France and in Manila. They even swing with plain vanilla. They swing at night from dusk till morn, hoping to find a unicorn.
Don't we
They
all?
know she's out there within their reach. Someday they will swing her on the beach. While they try to find that beauty, Tim will swing with something fruity.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
They try to find that booty. They're going to swing with
Something to do.
So back to that vacation I was talking about. And so there was like a group, for like, hey, this trip. And, people get on there and share different ideas and what they're
Upside down
doing.
pineapples?
One lady said, hey, looking for that unicorn. If you're on there, holler at me. And
That's
we're like,
amazing. Yep.
no, thank you.
Upside down pineapples,
Just be
man.
careful. So, in joking with this book, like you said, the vets love this kind of
Yeah.
stuff. If that's what your norm is and that's what gets you going
Get
and
it.
gets you happy, man,
Have
whatever works. And,
Yes.
whatever helps you get over what you're going on, that's what we want to do.
Well, I'll tell you what, boys. Get you to sign that. We are going to send that overseas to some of our.
A couple of the other names of the books is Spank the Monkey lends a hand. Lucy Lickalotopus goes down south. Peter pitched a tent. Brenda's beaver needs a barber.
One that was read the other day was put Tony's nuts in your mouth.
Oh, and I like the
and then who's going to help jack off the horse?
Off the horse.
There's Jackalope, and he's small, dude, and he's got to help. He needs help getting off the horse.
I like the Jiggle Wiggle Tickle Pickle.
Jiggle Wiggle
Jiggle
Tickle
Wiggle
Pickle.
Tickle Pickle is a good one.
It's pretty good.
But yeah, it's awesome, man. We send them over we package them up, send over, like, we'll send,
I read
granola
that one.
bars and sunflower seeds and all that stuff.
Brenda's beaver plays around the golf, and Susie likes to look at
Yeah,
balls.
her beaver also needs a barber.
Yep. I read the Susie likes
Apparently,
to look
don't have a fancy signature like Chuck does, for the record.
Hey, Susie likes to look at balls was pretty, like, they hit all the celebrities. What do you want me to do? I can't read.
I should have been a
that's right.
doctor with the handwriting that I have.
Oh, Josh, they're
you're
not
almost
our
there, bro.
books.
That's
It's just
that's
a group that we hooked up with. It's called reacharoundbooks.com. Check them out.
We told them what we wanted to do. We wanted to read some of these books on the air.
It's great. LOL.
No, put together
hey,
care package.
Actually, all we do is read the books. We're not the pervs here.
That's not entirely true.
Not 100%.
But
We'll
guys,
take 50%.
But guys, thank you so much for being here tonight. We really do appreciate
y'all
it.
for having us.
And
Awesome, man.
anything that we can do to help you guys get the word out, we're all for it. If you have any events coming up or anything you would need us for, or if you want Shane to come on the podcast and cry for you at the drop of a hat.
Golf tournament, please.
Golf
Let's
tournament.
get it.
Golf tournament.
Let's
we're in.
get it.
That's
We did a
seriously
putt-putt tournament
Yeah,
last
well,
year.
and that might be something too. It doesn't have to be the traditional stuff. And I love what was it last year or whatever, the mustache and the beard competition.
Oh, yeah. Well, we
And-
did that with the
yeah.
Bearded Bully
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the Bearded
just
Sinners.
different stuff like that. It's fun to have the not norm stuff. to raise money with.
The
and talk
putt-putt
about- yeah.
tournament was amazing because it's family-orientated.
Absolutely.
And that's what
Yes.
we've learned over the years, that anything that we can bring families into, we seem to get a better response from. So that would have been a hit had we not been competing with Comic-Con, with the Saline County
Do
Fair.
it on the same weekend as every damn thing else that's going on.
Well,
have
that's
to
why
have
we
like
need a director of
a
planning. here.
bowling competition or just
Right.
something fun that everybody can enjoy.
See,
That's-
I was
that's
thinking
it.
about a bowling
I want to
fundraiser.
bring bowling back. First of all, I like bowling.
I love
and
bowling.
I hate it that like a lot of the lanes have closed down and stuff like that, and people don't bowl no more.
Right.
But that was like the funnest thing. I mean, I'm not that old, but like we'd go to the bowling alley in Benton or something like that, and just throw some, and everything was, black light and crazy looking carpet. Get your nachos and give a funny name.
Well, Rodney always wants a kissing booth, so we've got to make sure we get a kissing booth in
I
there.
don't know why we ain't brought that back.
Oh.
Well, COVID is kind of
COVID ruined everything.
It's good now.
I mean, you
We
can
can do
help
it.
jack off a horse, but you can't have a kissing booth.
But now it's monkeypox. Now you got to worry about the monkeypox.
That does happen.
I'm not worried about it. Let's do a kissing booth.
Well, again, like he said,
We'll do a
you know,
bowling kissing booth.
Bowling kiss.
all of our first responders, everybody out there, regardless of what it is you're going through, reach out. Don't
Anything,
don't-
yeah, whatever.
And you can do so. You can reach you guys at heroesbehindtheline.com.
heroesbehindtheline.com, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. You can send us a message. If you go to the website, you can click the contact form and it sends us directly to us.
Where's the best place to find your podcast?
So the podcast is found on pretty much all your normal podcast stuff. The only issue we're having right now, and if you give us a day or two, Apple's having some issue with getting it on, Apple Podcast, but Spotify and Stitcher and all the
Yeah.
other main, it just you search us. It's Be the Hero podcast. So and it'll have our logo, on and if you want to, the easiest way is just go to Facebook and we share that link.
Never
Also,
Wolf, you're not my boss.
if you can help share that link, all you gotta do is click it, like it, save it, and then once you go to it, hit that little icon that lets you stay with us all the time.
Yeah.
We say it all the time: share, like, and subscribe.
Share, like, subscribe,
It's
and comment.
and comment, all of it, because again, without y'all, we can't be us.
Can't do nothing.
So-
Can't do nothing without y'all. And thank y'all so much out there listening. I know we've talked about a lot and kind of talked in circles, and I could just keep doing it.
That's how we roll.
But we seriously, if anybody out there wants to talk later on, or if you want to be on the podcast and you're listening to us right now, shoot us a message on any of those social media platforms.
Shoot
And
us a message. We'll
Let
get
us
it to
know.
them
Yeah,
or
however,
whatever.
we want to hear from y'all and see what y'all want to talk about too. And let y'all share your stories. So,
Absolutely.
wives,
Awesome.
spouses, whatever.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys. Thanks to Travis. Thanks to Chuck. Heroesbehindtheline.com. Find them on Facebook. Find them online. Everywhere you can find podcasts. What else you got for them, boys?
That's it.
That's it?
I'm ready to go drink a beer.
Let's go drink a beer.
Okay.
All right,
Let's
guys.
do that.
Thanks so much for tuning in this week. Do us a favor. Go follow us on all the social media platforms, on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, OnlyFans,
Just-
anywhere you can find us.
Whatever.
Farmers only.
FarmersOnly.com.
We
Just
got
know
it all, baby.
You've got a friend in me. I think Woody said that.
There we go.
He did.
Yeah.
And what's your motto? It's okay to not be okay.
It's okay not to be okay, but our motto is be the heroes.
Be
Be
the hero.
Be the
Be
hero.
the heroes.
With that being
Y'all go
said,
check them out. If y'all need something, reach out to us. We'll get you in touch with them, or we'll get you in touch with the right people. And it's okay. Everybody's all right.
Yeah, it's okay
It
to
is.
not be okay.
thanks everybody. We're getting a lot of thank yous from everybody that's still here with us. So, like I said, without y'all, we can't be us. Thank y'all for being there to support us. Keep it up. Share, like, subscribe. Tell everybody. Let's grow this thing and make it bigger than we could have ever thought it could have
Absolutely.
been. So
And happy 3-year dadiversary.
that's it. What's up right there?
Yeah, heck yeah.
Appreciate y'all. Thanks everybody.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for being here.
And
This is the longest
longest
longest time I've
Russian-
held a job without being paid.
right.
Welcome to being a volunteer fireman.
Thank
brother.
you.
Thanks everybody.
Like I said, we're going to double your salary next year.
With that being said, we out of here.
Yep, we out.
Bye, Sidwell.
Have a good week, everybody.
Yeah. That's after dark. You already know. Moms in the morning suck.
Dads after dark, grilling in the park, making back ribs on the grill. Me and my wife, Netflix and chill. Sweet tea, roller cooler, lawnmowers, blah blah blah. Moms in the morning, they talking, it's kinda boring. Bourbon, Velcro, New Balances, tatted on my nose. Mickey G, funny packs, hats on me. Blue jean shorts, yeah, that kinda short. Dads after dark, dads after dark, dads after dark, dads after dark, dads after dark.